Normally when I do something, I justify it. Normally when I do something, I know exactly why I'm doing it and what I expect.
And even Sheriff Mikkel Wetzel, now retired, says Minnesota's so-called castle law permits residents to use deadly force if necessary to protect themselves and their property. Like Byron says he did when Nick Brady and his cousin Haley Kiefer broke into his Little Falls home on Thanksgiving Day.
You're dying.
You were looking at the possibility that this was justifiable. Someone's breaking in his home and he has the castle doctrine on his side.
That is certainly one of the things we consider at the outset, and it's fair to say there's a bit of a presumption that he has a right to do what he did, at least at the outset.
But Sheriff Wetzel and other investigators also have reason to believe Byron Smith may have crossed the line.
And that's what was the difficult part here. He had the right to do some things. He did not have the right to do others.
Like firing a total of 9 bullets into the 2 unarmed teenagers in what appears to be a classic case of overkill.
Why did you fire more shots than you needed to, do you figure?
And I was very, very threatened, unhappy.
And so angry about the string of burglaries at his home that investigators allege the 64-year-old retiree actually set a trap for the burglars, deliberately trying to lure them into his house. And they would base that claim largely on this surveillance video, captured on Byron's own home security system, showing him apparently hiding his truck on the morning of the killings to give the impression he wasn't home.
Byron had moved his vehicle several blocks away, left it, and then walked back on a different route and went into the back of the house.
Have you ever parked your vehicle over there before?
No.
No, you haven't. What made you want to park it over there
Out of sight,
on Thanksgiving?
out of the way. Because I'm not leaving anything out where anybody can get to it.
But wouldn't you be afraid somebody would come and break into it while it's parked along the road there?
They're not being raided over there. I'm being raided.
Investigators allege he then lay in wait for the expected burglars in his old man cave in the basement, guns at the ready.
He's got a full surveillance system around his house, cameras. He's watching the monitor while he's sitting in a chair waiting.
I was monitoring 2 cameras on the basement door, 1 camera on the front living room door, and 1 camera looking at the approach to the main door from the driveway.
Until, sure enough, Nick and Haley take the bait.
Nick convinces himself nobody's home.
And the horror of what happened after Nick and Haley break in is chronicled on this astounding audio tape found stashed on a bookshelf in Byron's basement. Listen as Byron sits alone, armed for battle, waiting for intruders to break in, planning their execution.
In your left eye.
He had been running an audio recorder that captured the actual break-in, the shooting, and the aftermath of this entire incident. It's very chilling, very difficult audio tape to listen to.
A moment-by-moment, shot-by-shot soundtrack for what investigators claim is plainly cold-blooded, premeditated murder.
You don't ever hear a shooting going on unless you're directly involved in it. Then you do. But otherwise, you never hear such a thing.
That's the sound of Nick Brady walking down the stairs to Byron's basement.
And then I saw his feet, and then I saw his legs.
And that's the sound of Byron shooting Nick in the chest with his Mini 14 rifle.
So he tumbles down the stairs. While he's tumbling, Smith shoots him again, this time in the back. He's probably dead. He's certainly not moving.
But Byron says otherwise.
And he's looking face up at me.
Okay, then what?
I shoot him in the face.
Smith walks over, puts the rifle to his head, and blows his head off while he's saying, "You're dead."
You're dead.
And Byron has a footnote about those sneakers investigators found in the house.
One thing of importance, his shoes came off.
Okay.
His shoes, I kicked underneath the reading chair. They're still there.
You can now hear the sound of Byron putting Nick's body on a tarp and hiding it in the adjoining room.
So he dragged Nick's body out of the way.
Covered the brain and blood matter all over the floor with a rug.
Then he reloads his rifle and strikes again as Haley comes walking down those same basement stairs about 10 minutes later.
He meant to hit her in the chest and kind of missed.
Haley stumbles down the stairs, still alive, with just a bullet wound to the left arm. Then Byron's rifle jams.
Oh, sorry about that.
Then she laughed at me. I just pulled out the .22 and shot her. If you're trying to shoot somebody and they laugh at you, you go again.
Investigators say a terrified and wounded Haley did not laugh. In fact, you can hear her pleading for her life.
Sure die.
But Byron shows no mercy. He just keeps shooting her. Fulfilling his promise from before.
In your left eye.
Byron shoots Haley in the left eye. Then finishing the teenager off with a final shot he claims was a mercy killing.
As much as I hate someone, I don't believe they deserve pain. So I gave her a shot under the chin up into the cranium.
But these inner thoughts he recorded after killing Haley say something else.
Cute. I'm sure she thought she was a real pro.
Sits down and talks to himself and tries to rationalize what he just did.
Byron would wrap Haley in a tarp too, just as he had Nick, and dump her body next to Nick's, apparently only sorry for the damage he'd done to his precious house.
I felt like I was cleaning up a mess. Not like spilled food. Not like vomit. Not even like diarrhea. The worst mess possible. And I was stuck with it.
Byron sounds both proud and bitter on his bizarre inner monologue audio recording.
Because I try to be a decent person, they think I'm a patsy. I'm a sucker. They think I'm there for them to take advantage of.
And he appears to be rehearsing his defense of the killings, blaming them on the string of burglaries at his house.
I refuse to live with that level of fear in my life.
With the bombshell evidence in hand, prosecutors upped the charges against Byron from second-degree to first-degree murder.
He's bragging about what he did. Very proud of the fact that he killed these kids.
Next, the defense tells the jury Byron Smith's a victim, not a villain, when he goes on trial for the shooting of Nick Brady and Haley Kiefer.
He was just scared.
It's all fun, cool, exciting, highly profitable, until somebody kills you.